Um, Now, how long did it take for you to publish your first two novels, and did you receive any awards for your novels?
I didn't, man, because the awards thing just. I write novels about angry young men who are, like, into metal or beat people up. Like, I don't. Like, these books are very much expressions of sort of a rawer thing in me, so they're not sort of grand pieces of polished literature. But that said, I got a star review and book list for Heavy Metal and You, which is like a thing in publishing. It's one of those things that people told me a lot that it was a cool thing, so I learned to believe it. And as for how long it took, I started writing Heavy Metal and You in high school, just for the hell of it. Again, in my spare time, I wanted to write this story about a heavy metal kid. And I started writing Venomous once I had gotten Heavy Metal and You signed. Venomous was a bit more. Heavy Metal and You was a bit more. I'm going to write a book, and Venomous just flowed out. Venomous is the one that I'd been slow boiling for a while, and
Everything just came together.
I was ready to tell the story. Like I had an idea of how I wanted to say it. Heavy Metal and You, I wrote in high school for, I can't even remember how long. It must have been like 2 or 3 years. And then I published it my sophomore year in college, which was cool. And then Venomous, I had been writing since like my senior year of high school or my freshman year of college, and had finished by like 2005 or 6, and then it came out in 2008. So it's a long process, especially when I was editing Venomous in college. In college, the last thing you want to do is sit down at your desk and edit your manuscript, man. You're like, somebody's having a party somewhere.
Yeah.
So one of the things that was interesting is that in high school, when you've got sort of the idea of school nights, editing comes a lot easier, and publishing can be a bit more fluid. While in college, when you get to make your own schedule, editing is a bit more, it happens when you have time for it.
Yeah.
So I think Venomous definitely took me longer to put out than Heavy Metal and You. But yeah, I'd say overall, the first two took about, God, I want to say like 6 years overall for those to come out. For those to be written, crafted, and then to come out.
Okay. How long? I remember reading on Wikipedia that you were like you were like an editor or something for Revolver magazine. How long did?
Sorry, go on, man.
Oh, how long did you write? How long did you write or edit for them, and how come you left?
I was an intern at Revolver for about 10 months, and I stopped doing that because they just couldn't pay me, at all. They would pay me for what I wrote in the magazine, and they'd pay me like a small amount a month, but I had just gotten a book deal towards the end of it, and I had to focus on writing that book and just couldn't be in the office. Publishing a magazine is a lot more about like reading copy and staying late than it is about like interviewing your idols all the time. That said, I still write for Revolver, and I still do the occasional interview for them and the occasional review for them and stuff. And I can't speak well enough about that magazine, because although it's come to be associated with sort of a bro-ish metalheaddom, kind of that Ask Vinny kind of thing, I still think it's the best metal magazine out there. It's what I was raised on. It's a well-written and like nicely formatted magazine that would feature bands like Emperor or Opeth or Shadows Fall.
Celtic
I was
Frost.
ready to read them. That article they had on Shadows Fall, I remember the headline is "Fade to Black," and it's them standing on a like a stoop somewhere. And I remember that article, me being like, I've heard one song by these guys, but already I want to hear more. And that just got me into that band. I owe Revolver a lot of the bands I listen to. Bands even as recent as I remember Revolver was the first magazine to wake me up to Municipal Waste, for instance.
Nice. I'm actually going to see them in a couple months at the Newport.
Okay, who are they playing with, man?
Shit. I don't even remember.
Probably, a bunch of thrash bands is probably the answer.
Probably. I just saw Municipal Waste and I was like, oh, buy tickets.
That's a fun band, man. I really love that band, and I'm a big fan to a certain level of that sort of old school thrash thing. Like I grew up on like Slayer and Exodus, and I'm going to see Destruction next week from Germany.
Nice.
I love that band, man, and I love that thrash thing. People talk about the thrash revival, and I don't even know about that, man. I just love that music. I love that fast, funkish metal.
Okay, real quick, do you have any novels kind of like Venomous or Heavy Metal in you like currently in the works?
I have a couple of novels right now. I'm working on this horror series for HarperCollins. I'm working on a YA novel that I've been working on for a couple of years now, and I'm working on a sort of YA fantasy novel. Heavy Metal and You and Venomous are very raw, angry books, man. And, I'm like 26 right now, which means I'm old as hell. So, like, I'm in the midst of my, kind of my chilled out moment. Like, I'm in my the way I sort of think of it is like my kind of like Black Album moment where I'm like, let's slow down and focus on those big, fun riffs. I'm not sure I'm ever gonna write a novel again quite like those, man.
Yeah.
They're like certain albums, a real snapshot of a time in my life, and the last thing you ever want to be, man, is that band trying to recapture its sound.
That is true.
It's like, what did we do in 1985 that made that album so cool? I would rather write something different than be one of those guys trying to cash in or trying to sound like I did back in the days.
Kind of like what Metallica's doing now with the Lulu album.
Well, the Lulu album, that's not even trying to return to a sound, man. The Lulu album is...
That's just Lou Reed.
Career suicide? Why would you do
Pretty
that?
much.
But, I think it's always sad when you hear a band put out an album where they're trying to experiment or something, and then the next album, they're obviously trying hard to get back what they had. They're like, no, we never experimented. And so,
kind of like a Death Magnetic.
Sure, man. Death Magnetic is a good example of a band who, and the thing about Metallica, though, is like, Metallica is that example of like a band where it got so bad that if they're trying to go back to their old sound, you're like, it's better than what we were working with, man.
They were trying to go back to the Kill 'Em All album, man.
Man, and that's the thing, is like, you can never go back to the Kill 'Em All album, so go back to the Black album. Write me another Enter Sandman. But don't try and tell me you're going to be as cool as you were when you were,
long hair,
17 and hungry and in the middle of the thrash explosion, man.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I will say about that Lulu album, man, is that Lulu album has a lot of problems, but at least those guys just wanted to do that, and so they did, man. I'd rather that than them being like, it's not safe, we gotta just try and recapture Master of Puppets,
Yeah. One final question for the video.
Shoot, man.
Coke or Pepsi?
Man, it's so funny because I actually have an opinion on this, man. I'm a Pepsi man.
Yes.
So, I like Coca-Cola fine, but there's something about that real sharp sweetness of a Pepsi that just strikes my heart, man. So,
yes.
That's a good question to end an interview with, man. I kind of want to now for Revolver, like, end an interview. I'm interviewing one of the dudes from Destruction, and I might throw that in there if that's cool.
Do it.
It's simple and old school. Like, that's a question, like, one of my favorite interviews, because I loved him so much as a kid, was I got to interview for, like, all of 15 minutes Rob Zombie.
Nice.
He was one of those guys who's kind of, like, old school and smart about these kind of things. He's not one of these dudes like me or like Dave Mustaine or a lot of these dudes who just ramble on in an interview. He's like, I have an answer prepared for this. I know what you're probably going to ask me. And that would have been a good question to ask him, because he's such a weird old-fashioned dude for a dude with Zombie for a last name.
Yep.